Good afternoon, everybody, and those of you still arriving. Welcome to TGO Consulting's 30 GP Tips in 30 Minutes webinar. We'll try and keep it to 30 minutes. We're going to be going pretty fast, but we'll do the best we can do. A couple of quick introductions. My name is Grantley Smith. I'm the Dynamics Practice Lead and a Solution Architect here at TGO Consulting, and I'm responsible for introductions and closing today. I actually get let off the hook from presenting. The presentation today is going to be driven by Erin Manchester, who is one of our senior GP consultants, and she will be going through the 30 tips in 30 minutes for you. For those of you not familiar with us as an organization, TGO Consulting, quick bit of history. We've been in business since 1988, and we specialize in providing complex technology solutions in and around the Office of Finance. So we manage financials, CRM, budgeting, planning, business process management, and we've been doing this again since 1988 with various applications. The application we'll be focusing on today obviously is Microsoft Dynamics GP. Quick bit of background about us. TGO, again, we've been around for 26 years and counting. We have over that time won many awards, many Microsoft awards. Customer service is one of the ones we're particularly proud of. We've won that a couple of times, and we're proud of that because it's nominated by our clients. We have technical expertise, we have development expertise, but we also have an awful lot of business expertise. So the majority of our consultants, the majority of our employees come from your side of the fence. They come from a business background as opposed to a purely technical or learned background. So we have a lot of professional designations floating around the building: CAs, CGAs, CMAs, CPAs, all of them I guess now at this point. And then we also have all the necessary technical designations that go along with that to support the products that we work with. A number of those people with those designations have been with us for a very long while. So we find and retain people with business experience, which means that over the years with TGO, those people have worked on a variety of projects, a variety of verticals, a variety of industries, and as they've matured with us, a variety of different roles on those projects as well. So we've got people that have been consultants, project managers, business analysts, and they've fulfilled different roles on different projects. So our team has a lot of breadth and depth of experience in all industries and all positions within an engagement. Couple of quick points before we get started. A bit of housekeeping for you. Everybody is, of course, on mute. We've got over 250 people attending this webinar, so to manage 250 people off of mute is virtually impossible. So if anybody has questions, what we would ask is at the end we'll put an email address up on the screen, and we'll ask everybody to email their questions in, and then we'll post the results of those on our website afterwards so that everybody can see them, because otherwise managing 250 people putting their hands up or plus is going to get a little tricky. Couple of other housekeeping items for you. For anybody on this session that is on GP 2010, if you're not already aware of it, GP 2010 mainstream support does expire in October of next year. So the mainstream support for your version is finishing. In particular, if you're on 2010 and you're running payroll, this is the last annual payroll update you will ever get for your version. There will not be another one at the end of next year. So if you're on 2010 and running payroll, you should really come and talk to us soon, certainly sooner rather than later. Another announcement, GP 2015, for those of you that may or may not be keeping up with this, GP 2015 is going to be released next month, December of 2014, and with that there are several very exciting changes that we learned from our partner session at Fargo last week. And at the end of this presentation, if you can hang on until the end, I'm just going to let you know a couple of the exciting announcements that the Dynamics GP team made last week that we would like to share with you at the end of this webinar. So with that done, and having already taken 5 minutes of Erin's 30, I'm going to hand you over to Erin Manchester to actually fly through 30 tips in 30 minutes. Take it away, Erin.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Grantley. So you said, my name is Erin Manchester. I'm a consultant here at TGO, and we have a lot of material to cover today. So I will get started. I'll try not to jump around too much, but there will be a few different screens. We'll be going through slides, and I will actually be showing you windows within GP, MR, and other tools. Now, so as he mentioned, there will be an email address at the end which you can send in your questions. There will also be a questionnaire at the very end when the presentation is over. And so feel free to enter any questions that you have there as well. Okay, so the first thing I would like to show people, there are lots of really cool things that I think most users are not aware of, or many users are not aware of. And so what I'm going to do is show you those cool things that I think will help most people. And keep in mind that some of these things are not necessarily available in the version that you are using, so I'll try to reference the exact version that these things became available. So the first item on our list, number 30, is reprinting check stubs. So this came out in GP 2013, so if you're still on 2010, this is not yet available. So when you go to your payables transaction inquiry by vendor or by document and you pull up a payables document, on that screen there is a new button that appears where you can recreate the check stub, and on that check stub it will contain all of the details of the payment that you issued. So it's possible to get that information from one screen and print it out if your vendor requests it. So the next thing to keep in mind when with check payments, in GP 2013, one of the changes that they brought in was that if you had automatically applied any credits during the check creation stage, now if you void the check, those documents will become unapplied automatically. So if you're familiar with this Select Checks window, there is a section at the bottom where it says it will automatically apply existing unapplied payments, credits, and returns. In previous versions, if you're on GP 2010 or anything older, what would happen is that it would create a check that is reduced by the amount of any outstanding payments, credits, or returns, and then if you voided that check, you still had to go and unapply those individual documents, and created a lot of issues for some people. So that's been addressed in GP 2013. If this is something that is causing a huge headache for your users, I definitely encourage you to look into this, or if you are already on GP 2013, just be aware of this change. Also, just note that when you are using your Select Checks window, you can unselect these documents. They are selected by default. Now, number 28 are reminders. I think this is an item that would be useful for just about any user. It doesn't matter what role you play in the organization. Smart lists, as you may or may not know, are really great. Is a really great tool that allows you to query just about anything that you've entered into the system, whether it is in financial, sales, purchasing module, really anywhere. We have the ability to get that information. And this one's not loading for me, so let me bring it up in my image. Apologize, my computer's slowing down. I've got a lot of things going on here. So the reminders are items that you can bring onto your home page. So it's a link that shows up. I think my computer might be dying. Okay, so it's a link on your home page in the reminders section, and it's when you click it, it opens up that smart list so that you can then drill down into the individual transactions or vendor documents, individual cards. So for example, here I've created a few reminders that are telling me that I have a bunch of unapplied documents that are sitting waiting to be applied. I have some past due payables, some unposted transactions. So if you're familiar with smart lists, if there are smart lists that you're working with on a regular basis, I encourage you to turn those into reminders. It is an option when you save a favorite in smart lists to add the reminder. And so when you do that, you just want to have it show up as a queue so it appears as one of these, as one of those shortcut icons. So this is the window where you would create that reminder. So we come in and select the individual smart list favorite, identify when we want it to show up on our home page, and ask it to display as a queue. And so once we've created that, we can select that list from our home page. So it's the first thing we see when we log in, and it opens up right on our screen. Now don't judge the speed by my computer. I think it's on its last legs. Okay, so I encourage you, if you, it doesn't matter the area that you're working in, if you work with the smart lists, try to find a way that you can have these direct your everyday activities, or so you become a little bit more efficient with the system. Okay. So the next item are the user preferences window, number 27. This is an area that you should become comfortable with because this is managed by you. It's on a user-by-user basis. And so there's a couple of things here I'd like to point out. In GP 2013 R2, there's a new action pane that is available. So rather than seeing the traditional menu at the very top, they've made the menu options a little bit bigger so that they are easier to select from a touch screen. So in our user preferences, we can ask it to appear as an action pane or as a menu just from this drop-down. Also, if you're working in SOP and you're creating invoices, the default sales document type is managed here. So if by default it goes to the quotes, but that's probably not the document that you create most frequently. So I often encourage users to set this to invoice. Also, the display item, the display button is used to set your required fields, so that when you open up a window, the required fields jump out at you. And also from this window we can manage our password if we are allowed to change our password. I'm not, because I have mine set up as SA, but if you are logged in as any user and your user login is not tied to your Active Directory login, you can select this button and change it from GP. So just to remind users where user preferences is, it's under the GP menu, user preferences. So I encourage you to become familiar with that window. Now the next item, menu bars. We want to make sure, we want to encourage you to customize your environment so that those windows that you use most frequently are available right at the click of a button. So you're not having to flip through windows to find the area that you work in all of the time. So the way that we can do that, in our menu bar at the top, you have the ability to customize this section and add individual windows to your toolbar. So any window that you can find in the system can be added to our toolbar. So I've added here my smart list so that I don't have to flip through the GP items. Another one that might be useful is the batch recovery, because that's kind of buried in the menus. Really, any window that you use frequently you can add to your toolbar. And number 25, so Smart List Designer. In 2013, Smart List came with a new button at the top left corner, and that is links to Smart List Designer. And I think in the later version in 2013, if you own Smart List Builder, that button will actually open up Smart List Builder. But if you don't open Smart List Builder, opens Designer. So Designer is a sort of a light version of Smart List Builder that is included in Core GP. It's not as powerful as Smart List Builder. It doesn't have all of the functionality of Smart List Builder, but it gives you an opportunity to try and create links between individual Smart Lists so that and you can test how they look. And then eventually, if you find that you found a good report based off of a couple different tables, you can then maybe discuss with either an IT person in your organization or someone here. We can help you turn that into a view so it runs a little bit more efficiently. Smart List Designer is an excellent thing that they've added in 2013. So number 24, we have the table finder. So this is a part of 2013 Smart List Builder. If you own Smart List Builder, in 2013 they've added this new item called Table Finder that you may not be aware of. And the Table Finder, which I'll show you where it is, under Tools, Table Finder. And this window allows you to find the tables that make up individual windows. So you can select the product, the series, the form, the individual window, and then you can modify the SQL script to query those particular tables in a different way, and then you can have that turn into a smart list right from here. So it's a quicker way to get your smart list started if you own Smart List Builder 2013. And number 23, we have the ability to clean up master records now. This was introduced in SP2, so a little bit before R2. This is available under the Tools Utilities menu options under both the purchasing and sales modules. And so what these windows allow you to do, either modify the IDs if you created a new record with an incorrect customer ID or an incorrect vendor ID, you can modify that from this window. If you've accidentally created multiple vendors or multiple customers and you have transactions across both, you can have all of the transactions moved to a single vendor or a single customer from these windows. These were always available using some other tools available through your partner, but now it's a part of Core GP because Microsoft does recognize that this happens fairly frequently. Now the Reconcile to GL, number 22. This is a tool that's been around for a little while, but from experience, I think a lot of people are not aware of it. And so I think it's a good thing to go through right now. In 2013, they added a few new options. So if we go into our financial routines, this is Reconcile to GL. So this window has been there for a little while, but what they've added is the Reconcile option for inventory and bank rec in 2013. So what you would do with this Reconcile to GL, you identify your control accounts that you are hitting from the subledger, and then the module, so the subledger you want to look at, and specify where you want this file created, and then you click Process. And it's not going to change anything in your system. It's not going to go out and post things or remove things on you, so there's very little risk there. But what it helps you with is identifying if there are transactions that have been deleted before getting posted in the GL, or maybe they're it's taking a little while to pop up. So if the batches were deleted, or if batches are still waiting in the GL to be posted because someone forgot to do the last step, this will help identify those for you. So it's a good starting point for running your month-end reconciliation. So we can see here that I've got some unmatched transactions, some things that are sitting in my receivables module but are not sitting in the GL. And so these might be batches that are waiting to be posted. Or maybe somebody's deleted it when it came to the GL. Okay. So the next item, number 21, is our support debugging tool. I'm a big fan of this tool. It's not always installed, but it is available through your reseller. As part of that support debugging tool, we have the ability to take screenshots. So this is the screenshot tool that is available. So if you are running into errors, this would take a shot of every window that is open at that time and include some of the background information that will be helpful for support desk personnel. And then you can email it straight from that window. Also, what I find some people find really helpful is the security information tool available in support debugging. And this tool allows you to see exactly who has access to what windows and through which roles and tasks. So if you're not sure, if you want to confirm that a certain window is protected, then no one can see it, this will tell you exactly if anyone has access to it and exactly how they have access to it. Okay, so come in here. So here I'm going to just take a look at the security information to show you. So we can find a particular window however we want to find it, but I find the menu is the simplest way because that's how you're actually accessing it every day. So we want to find the form by the menu options, and then we can look for the particular form that you're interested in. So I'm looking in fixed assets. If I want to see who has access to the general book in fixed assets, I can come in here. And this is listing all of my users in my system. And so I can see how that user has access to it. So here, my test user has access through the power user rule. Lesson user does not have access to it. Access is denied. Okay, so that's a support debugging tool. The next item, we have the ability to manage our account segment descriptions. This is something that I think in the past many people just ignored, but we want to encourage you to manage your segment descriptions. Particularly if you're working with MR, it allows you to build your reports a little faster so you're not having to type out descriptions constantly. And one of the things that they've brought in R2 is that you can roll down the descriptions to previously existing accounts that contain that segment. So you can click no on that button when you come into the account segment setup. But if you want them to update your existing accounts, you can click yes. So where we find this is under Tools, Setup, Financial Segment. So this is a window that we want to come into and ensure that our individual segments are defined here. So for example, in my division segment, these are all the numbers that exist in my chart of accounts, and these are the descriptions. So my department, I don't believe that they've been defined, but these would be very good to fill out. So these are all the account numbers that exist, or department numbers that exist in my system. So if I wanted to build a tree based on this segment, and I want the descriptions to come in automatically, I want to make sure that this window is filled out for all of these numbers. Okay, so the next item, our template generator. So a few versions ago, GP 2010, we had the ability to print reports to a Word template. And there were some previously created, default ones that were available from Microsoft, but anything that you had customized, you would not be able to run to a Word template. And Word templates are helpful because many people use Word and they're easy to work with. And if you wanted to make small modifications to the placement of items in the report, it's quite easy. But if you had any customized reports, you wouldn't be able to do anything with that. And so now we have a template generator. It became available in 2010. And so it's really quite simple the way that it works. I have a folder on my desktop where I have created, actually no, it's right here. So this is my Word template generator folder. You get a little shortcut, you create the XML file of your customized report and then drag it over this and it will automatically create the Word template document to be imported into GP. So it's really quite simple to work with. If you do have any customized reports that you want to be able to email to your vendors or customers in a Word template format, speak to your reseller about getting the template generator. Okay, so the next item is fixed assets. There are quite a few changes in R2 with fixed assets. They did a lot of work in 2013 to make sure that, to just beef up the module a little bit. It's been around for a really long time. A lot of users use it and are quite happy with it, but there were certain areas where they wanted to beef it up a little bit. And so one of the big things that I think is quite exciting that they've brought in R2 is the ability to back out any depreciation. If you realize you made a mistake in the depreciation window, you now have an option to reverse what you previously ran, which is exciting. I think that was an area that a few people were a little nervous about. Number 17, email enhancements. So emailing out of GP became a bigger thing in GP 2010. And they've slowly been beefing up the email functionality in GP. In R2, they added the ability to specify a specific email address by document type under vendor. So now it's not just the vendor's address ID that you've created this transaction under, which will determine who the document is going to be sent to. It's really the document type that can be used to determine who this document should be sent to. So your remittances would probably go to a different person than your purchase order, for example. So that's in R2. Number 16, we have a journal entry paste. Now this is a tool that came out in R2. You'll see a little paste icon that shows up at the top of your transaction entry window. Now something to keep in mind, while it was introduced as a core feature of GP 2013 R2, it was an add-on in earlier releases. So in GP 2010, if you are working with that, there is a tool available that we can install and configure for you so that you're able to paste into the transaction entry window. But in GP 2013 R2, they actually made it a core part of the product because they realized that so many people work with this. So for example, if I come into my GL transaction window, and I have a template here, and it's really just 4 columns in this specific order: the description, which is my distribution reference, my GL account, which must exist in my system, and a debit and a credit amount. So the only thing it's really validating is that this account number exists. Otherwise, when we come in here, just click paste, and it will fill in the body of the transaction with the details that we've typed out there. It works very quickly and much less buggy than working with some other integration tool where you have to work with multiple tools. You're more likely to have issues pop up. And keep in mind that if you're not on R2, if you're on an older version, we can look into helping you out with getting Excel paste. Now, revenue expense deferral. This is a tool that's been around for a little while, but after having worked with a number of you, I think not many people are aware of this. And so this is a tool that is available to allow you to recognize your deferrals or recognize your expenses or revenues in the correct period, so that when you're creating a sales transaction or a payables transaction, you're creating the bill for that date, but perhaps the expense is not incurred until a date in the future, or perhaps the revenue has not been earned until some other date. And so the revenue expense deferral module allows you to define those when you should actually be recognizing those items. So for example, I have a receivables transaction entry window here in my distribution. So this is done at the time that the invoice is created. So either the person creating the entry would have to do this, or the person reviewing the batches can come in to make a change. And so I have this the sales line selected, and it's going to go to unearned revenue right now. And when I come into the additional button, and this is actually what the new action pane looks like for those of you that haven't seen it yet. So now when we go under additional deferral, we can specify within this window the period. So when does it start? When does it end? You can recognize you can earn the revenue over a full year, over a number of months. You can have the expense actually incurred over a number of months. So you'd select that period, how you want it split out, and when it's so initially it's all going to go to this account, and slowly it will be moved out of this account and moved into the recognition account. And so let's specify this. So I'll just grab one, doesn't matter. Okay. So here we can see how the initial the sales amount is going to be recognized over the year. Now this is a really small one, doesn't make a lot of sense, but if it's a larger, more material transaction. This would probably help you out a lot, so you're not having to create hundreds of little entries throughout the year to move your revenues into your earned revenue accounts. Okay, so that is available in both payables and receivables, POP and SOP. And it's not just for 2013. It's older versions, but you will need help in configuring it because it's not going to just be there right away. Okay, so the next item, the next few are in Management Reporter. So I want to take you through a few things that are available now in our new reporting tool. CU10 was released on September 29th, so it's been out for a couple months now, a few weeks, month and a half. And so we've got a few exciting things. Now, first item, default reports, that's been around for a couple of versions, but I want to show you what we have there. We now have the ability to see our headers in Excel, but this is in CU10. We have the ability to report multi-currency as long as we have all of the currency configuration done. We have the ability to drill into GP, our missing account, and Excel formulas. So these are all very exciting. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to show you in MR are the default report definitions. So these are report definitions that come when you install the system. And as long as you are using the default account categories that come with GP, you should be able to use these right out of the box. So for example, I'll open up my cash flow. So there is a default cash flow report available that has been mapped to the existing account categories in GP. So if you are using these, then you can give it a try right out of the box. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that there is a column for AX and GP, and so if we tried to run these just as is, we would get an error. And so to correct these, we would just need to remove the AX column under the row links. And just click delete on AX. So those are default reports. There's some really great ones in there. Some really nice financial ratios available under the ratios report. Take a look at them. There is also an option to download the default reports. Import default reports under Tools. Okay, so the next item, when you are running your report, we have in the Options window, there are a few Microsoft Excel options available now. And so the last item on this list is the header and footer formatting. So now when you run a report and you download to Excel, you'll actually still see the report, the name, the title of your report in the normal view. Okay, and since I'm here, we also have the formulas option. And so let me take a look at this. This is a report that I ran, very, very simple. And so again, we got the export formulas option. Let me send that to Excel. Not sure if I asked it to open. Yeah, that just does that to me in this image. Okay, let me do that once again. These images always seem to forget that we've already activated this. But what I want to show you is that we have our formulas now available here. And if we want to change the view, so I'm in my normal view right now, and it's already giving me, it's still giving me the title of my report. So that's very exciting for some of you, I'm sure. Okay, so some multi-currency options. When we are creating our columns, we have a currency display, and this will allow you to display your financial statements in some other currency than your functional currency. By default, everything is stored in the functional currency of your system, So if we want to convert things into some other currency, there is a fair amount of configuration required in GP in setting up the required exchange tables and configuring individual accounts. But once all of that is done, we do have the ability to report in any other currency we have in the system. Okay, and drilling down. So here, it's not given that option to me. So we have in our account level report, there is a drill to dynamics option. If you're viewing your report from the web viewer, it will show up as a little black arrow flag at the top left corner of the field. Now you do have to have GP available in the environment that you are, because I've got a web client open as well, so it's a little confused about what I'm trying to do. Okay, I'll come back to that once it's finished being confused. The other item in Microsoft Dynamics GP, Management Reporter, we have a missing account analysis. So this was something that was used in FRX. It was part of the exception report. It didn't really work very well in FRX though, and so that's why they took it out of the output and distribution window. They didn't want it interfering with the report generation. But they've added it to just the overall system, and so what this does, it looks into each of your reports to see if there are some potentially missing accounts. Okay, so here we're seeing that I've got in my balance sheet that it looks like some account categories are missing because that report's based on, these are both the defaults that are based on account categories. So they're saying that a few of them are missing some categories. But if you were basing them on your account segments, then you would be able to see where you have specific accounts missing. So it gives you a starting point to look at. Okay, so let me see what's happening here. Give that a second to load. Okay. So I will come back to the drilling into GP because it's trying to do it in my web client, which is an item that I wanted to show you near the end. So when you are in the report viewer, the option is in the menu. You have to have the line selected. You have to be on the account level of your report. If you are in the web viewer, it's again on the account level of the report, but when you hover over an amount, you'll get a little black flag. Okay, and so the only so many of these things have been available for a little while in MR, but the Excel formulas and the headers and footers are new to CU10, which came out at the end of September. So if you're really chomping at the bit for your Excel formulas, now is the time. Okay. Okay. So next item, requisitions. How am I doing for time? Okay, so requisitions were introduced in 2013. We have the ability to create requisitions which can be submitted for approval and then transferred to a purchase order. So those are through purchasing POP. We also have in 2013, and they've been working on it, the workflow. So we now have workflow built into GP. We have the ability to manage workflows through project accounting, purchasing, and that's about it. Let's go take that. Project accounting, purchasing. There's some, so there are limited windows right now which you can run through workflow, but they have, they're going to be expanding this quite a bit in 2015. So R2 apparently, not the first release, but the next one. There'll be quite a few additional. There'll be a lot more. But the nice thing about workflow approvals in GP, you can manage who has to do what based on specific fields within the document. So if it's a capital asset purchase order or if the values are over a certain number, or if it's a certain type of product that you are trying to purchase. You have very flexible workflow management in GP now. And Smart View. So Smart View is sort of a Smart List 2.0 that has been released by E1 Solutions, the builder of Smart List Builder. Smart View, it's similar to Smart List, but it's much more powerful. It is extremely fast. So you'll see here 2.3 seconds for all 462 accounts. You can bring back thousands of records very, very quickly. You also have the ability to manage what you're seeing here. So rather than having to bring up certain columns and filtering, it immediately allows you to filter by things that are in the work, open, or history tables. You can add additional columns. We can sort by specific fields. So this is a really powerful tool. I'm going to take a second to show this to you. Close a few of these things. Okay, we'll get back to that. Okay, Smart View. So if we wanted to group by a specific column, all we would have to do is select that column header, drag it up, and it will automatically group by that column. You can modify how it's totaling at the bottom, so it can sum, average, count. You'd still have the ability to export to Excel from this window. It's just much faster, much more powerful than what we see in Smart List. It's really, you know, when you think of the difference between lists and views, it's more of a three-dimensional, powerful tool than what we have in Smart List. So this is not something that is part of Core GP. This is an add-on through E1 Solutions, but you can discuss this with your reseller, with your account executive. Now, the next item is our Smart View External. So the benefit of Smart View is that you also have an external client available. So if there are certain users that you need to give information to but that they don't have a GP login, we can specify you know, who should be able to see these things that are outside of GP. So it's the exact same tool, but it's an external client. So here you can see from my Start menu, my external client. The next item is our collections management. So this is again an add-on through Professional Advantage. This is a really excellent built-in tool that there's no integration required. It's just a part of GP, and it allows you to track activities on a specific account, individual discussions on individual documents on customer accounts. And get just a nice snapshot of where they are. Are they paying you on time? So that's the collections management module. Now the next item is our Excel dashboards. Number 3, Excel dashboards are a part of 2013 R2. They've added some built predefined dashboards. So this is something that we can always build for you to meet your specific business needs, but they give you a nice view of what is possible. And so they allow you to flip. So here, what we're seeing in this dashboard is based on the date selected. And as we change this bar to show to select a specific period, the numbers will be updated to reflect that. So these are built-in dashboards as part of the Core GP. If you are on a more recent version, these just come with the system. But if your needs are not met by this, or you don't have these because you're not on the latest version, we can always help you to create a custom dashboard. Now, number 2, we also have a business analyzer now, and this is through the Windows store, and so it's just a cool view of different KPIs in your system. Number 1, we have a web client now. Our web client is, you know, you would access this through Internet Explorer, and it's just like GP. really is no difference. So that if there are users that don't have a client install, we can make a web client available to them. Okay, we want to see if that's popped up. So this is my web client. My system is having a very hard time. See if I can reload that. Okay, so it's seeing that I'm already connected, and it allows me to connect to the existing session, and it just opens up in a standard GP Windows. Okay, so that is about it for today.